I really don't get the apostles. Simon, and Andrew, James, and John. Here they are, working in their boats, taking care of their stuff, family, and friends around them. And this stranger comes walking by and says, "Hey you, follow me." Okay. And they leave everything and go follow him. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand that on some level here. That how can these guys, who have no idea who Jesus is, who have no idea who this man is, he comes along and says, "Follow me," and they just leave their stuff behind and go follow him. I'm certainly not that way. I need to have things kind of figured out. I like to know, okay, if I follow you, what's going to happen? What are the results? What are the consequences? What are the costs? What if? What if? And ask lots of questions. I think any one of us who have a major life decision to make like to have as much information as possible in order to make that decision. Give me all of the info that I need. Give me a complete picture of what this is going to look like down the road. Now imagine, though, if Jesus did that. Imagine if Jesus walked along the shore and said, "Hey, you guys, why don't you come and follow me? And leave your family and friends, and leave everything that you knew. And let's go be homeless together, and rely on people's generosity, and let's go preaching. And one day, I'm going to be arrested, and you guys are going to be left to carry on my mission, and you'll be doing what I'm doing, until people jeer at you, persecute you, and finally kill you. Come on, follow me." I'm thinking, no. That's not something that sounds very much of an invitation. And so, for that very reason, I think, Jesus does not give them the full picture. He does not show them the whole story that lies ahead, because they are not ready to make that kind of commitment. But how many times have you and I encountered someone that said, "Can you come here for a minute? Or can you come see this?" And we did. Sure, I can do that. I can come and follow you for a little bit. I can come over and help you now. I can do this thing in the present. And I think that's what Jesus was doing today. Guys, come follow me for a second. I'm sure that's how they interpreted it, and that they were able to do. Okay, I'll follow you right now. We'll see where you're going right now. And that was enough of an invitation to allow them to open themselves up to Jesus and to follow him for the time being. And what would happen is they would get another invitation and another invitation. And little by little, they would be saying yes to following Jesus on a daily basis. They never had to commit for 30 more years. They committed for today. I will follow you today. That's far less threatening. It's far less frightening. And in doing that, they received what they needed for that day, for that moment. And I think that's how God calls each one of us, and how he operates and works in our lives. He comes in gradually. Because if he painted the full picture of your life and showed you every sacrifice that you would go through and all of the sufferings that you would go through, that would be a cross so big when you saw it all at once that you would probably run away from it. I would. But when we experience them little by little, the splinter each day, I can deal with the splinter. I can deal with this thing today, particularly if God's going to be there to strengthen me, to give me what I need for that splinter. God doesn't invite us, God doesn't ask us to carry everything all at once. He invites us to give ourselves to him just today, little by little, moment by moment. Every promise, every vow, every word that we give is really not forever, but it is for today. and it's for now. And so I will be faithful today, and I will be faithful now, and that will carry me tomorrow, and so on and so forth. It's always interesting. If you think about it, we do that with our own children. We do that in our family life too, because you don't hold that little baby in your arms and try to feed it a fried chicken dinner. It doesn't work. It's too much. While the fried chicken dinner is very good and very tasty, that child is not ready to receive it. It's too much for that child to take all at once. And so we start them incrementally. Or we don't invite first graders to do calculus. Because if we showed them calculus in first grade, they would never do math again. And many of them don't want to do math in the first place. And so when we give too much at once, it causes people to draw back. It causes people to run away. Jesus invites his disciples little by little. One of the most fascinating things that I learned in reading a book last year, 2 years ago, I don't remember when, was, and I use this in my marriage preparation with couples, as they think about becoming parents one day. What is that like to think about becoming a mom or a dad for the first time? How is that going to change your lives? How is that going to change your decision-making process? How is that going to change you? And you can imagine, you can think about that, but those of you who have children know the reality is very different. It's not at all maybe what you imagined or thought of. But the interesting thing is, that struck me, is that physiologically, when a woman gives birth, and a man looks at the child for his first time and holds it, the bonding experience that happens on a neurological level. Hormones are released into our brain that literally carve new pathways, that literally change the way we think. So that how we would be as parents after birth is night and day different from before we had that child. Because we did not have the tools yet to approach parenthood, but they were given to us when we needed them. And that's the spiritual life as well. God gives us what we need when we need it, so that we are prepared for today. Give us this day our daily bread. Give me what I need today to follow you, Lord. I'm not sure I can commit for the rest of my life, but I can commit today. And if you give me what I need, I'm going to make it. And tomorrow, we'll have this conversation again. And the next day, and the next day. And pretty soon, forever is doable. Because we say yes today. The disciples were not crazy at all, as it turns out. All they did was say yes to Jesus in that moment. And that's all he asks of you. Say yes in the moment. Open your heart up to him and be transformed by him. It's kind of like making a pot of tea. You make tea by boiling some water and putting a pouch into it. And pretty soon, by leaving that pouch in the water, all of a sudden, you don't know exactly when, you've got tea in the pot. It just happened. If we put ourselves in God's presence and we stay there with him, all of a sudden, without knowing it, that sanctifying grace has transformed you and made you into something new and given you something you didn't know you had because you didn't. It was a gift from God that allowed you to follow him. So put yourself in God's presence. Do not fear to say yes today, to carry your splinter of the cross today. And if you do that every day, you will do it forever.